Winning Time Promised Land is over, and we're here to talk about it. And in fact, the season is over, season 1. I'm Jose Salviati, editor at the Peach Basket, and I lived through the 1980s Lakers Showtime era.
Hey, I'm Akeem Evans, writer at the Peach Basket. You can find me on Twitter at Akeem802. And I was not around for the Lakers' early run in the 80s, but I'm living through it now through Winning Time.
Nice. And I am Evan Moore. I'm also a contributor for the Peach Basket, and you can follow me at MoreHoops727 on Twitter. And I also lived through the 80s Showtime era.
There it is. 2 great follows. If you don't have them on your Twitter, you need to. Before we get into it, the season is over. Season 1 of Winning Time is over. I want to thank our sponsor, Dimers.com. No more watching from the sidelines. Dimers gives sports fans the tools, analysis, and information they need to excel at sports betting. Dimers' mission is to bring sports fans like you together and to be a key part of your online sports betting experience. We're excited to have Dimers.com as a partner at thepeachbasket.net and sponsor of our Winning Time, the Rise of the Lakers Dynasty reviews. As always, we want this to be as interactive as possible. If you're watching right now, you're watching our live show. We edit it and post it later, but we'd love for you to be a part of this live show over the next 20 minutes or so. We're going to be talking episode 10, and we'd love to get your thoughts. What'd you think? Do you agree with our takes? What was your favorite scene? Who's your winner? We do this because we love doing it, and we would be talking about this anyway. But, now that we're here and now that we're online, we would love to hear from you. We want to know what your thoughts are. If you are watching on Twitter, you're going to have to join us on YouTube. Just do a search for the Peach Basket. You should be able to find it. We can't take comments, unfortunately, on Twitter, but we can and are excited to hear from you and take your comments on YouTube. All right, with that, let me recap episode 10, and we'll get right into our recap and review. In episode 10, we watched the 1980s NBA Finals. Kareem was dominating, but then he got hurt. The Lakers were up 3-2 with Game 6 in Philadelphia when Magic decided to take over. Dr. Buss and Jeannie were dealing with the loss of Dr. Buss's mom, and Spencer Haywood continued to spiral. In the end, the Lakers are handed what is now known as the Larry O'Brien Trophy by Larry O'Brien in what was, I think, just an incredible ride and a pretty good episode. But let's take it in order. I know that, Akeem, you are actually next on my screen, but we're going to go with Evan first, and then we'll get to you. So, Evan, you're up first. What were your thoughts on the season finale, episode 10?
Oh man, so much. This was a great episode, and like this, Game 6 especially. That's really, for me, that was kind of the moment that sealed me being a Laker fan.
Yeah.
Like, before that, I had basketball cards, and had friends at school that were talking about basketball, and I hadn't picked a team. They had all picked a team, and I remember looking at my basketball cards one day, and I had narrowed it down to 2 teams. And funny enough, it's the 2 teams that are here in the finals, the Sixers and the Lakers. And it was because of 2 players, because Dr. J and Kareem. And I ended up siding with the Lakers before the finals, because I thought Kareem's name was really freaking cool. I thought he's got the coolest name. So,
it's a great name. Yeah.
An 8-year-old kid, that was it for me. And then when I finally got to see, the finals and that Game 6, especially, initially, I was disappointed because, Kareem was the guy that I was following, and he was the guy that I was there to see, and he wasn't playing. And so it was a shock seeing Magic there in Game 6, and but that game was amazing, and I still remember that game. And this episode was awesome. Just for the whole thing about Magic deciding to play center, and talking about that. I mean, that the whole buildup with him being in his head, and then Kareem like telling him, in the car that he's out. So, he feels like he needs to do something about it. And then, getting on the plane and like basically in front of everybody, like saying, hey, I'm going to be the center. I'm going to be cap for this game.
Right.
And, just, yeah. And then the thing that seals it for me too is where, Westhead is looking down at his thing that Jack had given him and flips it open. And Riley's like, what's that?
Yeah.
He's like, it's what Jack would do. And you scroll down and it's Magic at center. Like, that was great.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, the other funny thing too, like, was at the finals with Jerry Buss, the commissioner not actually being there. I don't think I knew that,
Yeah.
but it makes sense when you think about, where the state of the league was at the time,
Sure.
and it was probably assumed at that point, with Kareem down, it's going to go a game 7 anyway.
Yeah.
Like, why does he need to be there? But, but it was also kind of interesting. The one guy who said, are you sure we even have a trophy? Because the trophy was actually introduced a couple years before in 77. So, but they were probably unsure, like, because of the state of the league of like, oh, do we have a trophy? So I thought that was a cool little, little snippet that they threw in there.
And then they were looking for the quarter again.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, I need a quarter. I gotta call Larry.
Right.
I thought that was a nice, like, little throwback to the first episode.
It is important to note, though, because when you look back at history, you kind of look back on it because you know how it ends. So you kind of don't really get the impact. But I want everybody watching to really know and understand the Lakers had no chance winning that game. Okay. Now, and I know that they won, so it's hard to accept what I'm saying, but they had no chance. Their most dominant player was Kareem, and he's out. Imagine if the Dallas Mavericks were without Luka and they had a game 6 in Phoenix. Nobody would give the Mavericks any chance at all. And that is very similar to what was going on. So when I think back to the NBA, and we know they were struggling, we know there were cash concerns. Yeah, man, I'm not going to fly the commissioner out to Philly. I'm going to save some money because there's no way the Lakers are going to win this game. And so, yeah, you got to remember the context because it's so hard to really appreciate it when you know the outcome, right? But yeah, great call out. Hakeem, what are your thoughts, man? Episode 10.
I thought the episodes were good. I really liked the moment where Jerry Buss is talking to Red Auerbach in the stands. And Auerbach's bragging about all his trophies. He's like, oh, nice, you got all the trophies that don't matter.
Love that line.
Yeah, that was great.
I loved it. I doubt that happened, but I think that, you know what? Yeah, I love that line.
But there were just a lot of things in the episode that since I didn't live through that time, I'm not sure if that's how it actually went down. Like, was Kareem supposed to get the MVP award, or was that just dramatized for the show?
Yeah, I wondered about that too, but like, go back and watch that interview at the end with Magic and Bill Russell. I always thought it was a little odd because like Magic, who's, always, uber confident, never lacking for something to say. Magic is a little hesitant there. Magic was holding something back. So that might actually be true, because I don't know though for sure, but like, seeing that and then just thinking about that. Cause like I said, I've watched that interview dozens of times, and there was a great little snippet from that interview. It's a tiny little thing, but I just loved it. Bill Russell's laugh, because you go back and you watch that, you'll catch Bill Russell's laugh in it. And, it's just funny because he's this, just huge towering man. But when he laughs, this little kid comes out, this funny, like high pitched, like laugh. And I loved that moment. And yeah. And then probably another favorite moment of mine actually was Pat Riley saving the rookie vote total for just the right moment for Magic.
Yeah.
Tell him 63-3. Like,
can you imagine?
That was awesome.
That was awesome. I want to get back to Akeem's point because I thought the same thing. Did Magic steal this in any way, shape, or form? So I went and did a little digging. Again, I can't speak to facts because I don't know, but apparently it wasn't Magic's call, but there was pressure from I think it was Sporting Time, it was some magazine, forgive me, I don't recall, that was sponsoring it, and some of the broadcasters to give it to Magic. So there was some, and again, I don't know how much is fact, how much of this is fiction, but you could do a Google search just like I did. And it does look like there was some pressure to make Magic the MVP because of the reasons that were presented in the show, right? They saw Magic as the future of the NBA, so it just made sense. But it wasn't like Magic got the final say. He didn't. But there was, apparently some pressure in the back end. But yeah, I saw that, Akeem, and I thought, yeah, that's really odd.
And then another thing that I thought was a little weird, at least based on the box score. So I've never actually seen the game, but did you feel like the show accurately portrayed like the story of that game? Because looking at the box score, like Jamal Wilkes had 37 points, Magic Johnson at 42, 7 to 15. So obviously he had a tremendous game, but the whole focus was just on Magic. And I don't even know if I saw Wilkes score a basket on the show itself. And then also like Irving had a pretty good game. He had 27 and like 8 assists or something like that. So I felt like they could have done a better job of making it a little more back and forth, but I never actually saw the game, so I don't know what it was really like.
Yeah, and I'll certainly give you a moment here, Evan. I'll be honest, I watched it live. I don't remember the game, because all I remember them is them winning, right? But I think one of the reasons they didn't show Jamal making a lot of shots is because probably 60% of his shots were from the corner or from about 14 feet out, and he didn't shoot it traditionally. He shot it with this really funky kind of behind the back, delivery that, if you've not seen Jamal Wilkes shoot, you got to YouTube it. And I venture to guess they put the guy who was Magic Johnson, they put him through a boot camp so that he looked like Magic. Rick Fox apparently led that boot camp. I bet you that they tried to get the actor who did Jamal, who I thought resembled him pretty good. They tried to get him to shoot like Jamal, and they couldn't do it. I can do it. I have video proof. I will put it up when we record this. I can do the Jamal Wilkes shot. I can do it. And you know what? It goes. It's pretty good.
Nice.
But I bet you that's why they didn't do it. What do you think, Evan?
Yeah, I think that's probably pretty good reasoning. The other thing I was thinking about is that, even though Wilkes did have a pretty big game, everybody remembers Magic because that fourth quarter was all about Magic. So it's like, Wilkes was scoring those points, but it's like when crunch time came, it was Magic's show. So I think that's, that's why he kind of got pushed to the side there, in my opinion, So, but but I think that's probably a pretty good guess because, Wilkes shooting, it was something to behold for sure, and not easy to reproduce. Yeah. So I think you could be onto something there.
I think it's the same reason they showed Jeannie over the other busboys, although they were in this episode, right?
Yeah.
It's about Jeannie. This was about Magic. But any other call outs, Hakeem, from episode 10?
Just I would have liked to see some more Julius Irving. Like I would have liked to see some crazy like looping finger roll type of move, or just something to make him look a little mythical, because that's the reason, like you said, the Lakers didn't have a shot at winning the game. A big part of that is Julius Irving. So I feel like they could have built him up a little bit more just for that moment.
That's a fair call out. Yeah. I mean, he was spectacular. All right. Yeah, no, that's a good call out. What I've done in watching these episodes, I'll just take little snippets, and so I'll just talk to them. You all have covered some, but first off, I thought it was really interesting how we started with the swan song thing. I never knew that. The swans sing before they die, and that's why it's called a swan song. I thought that was pretty fascinating. Dr. Buss, there was a scene when he tells Jeannie, there's an opening, and Jeannie gets very excited, and then he asks her which of her brothers. And, that was, again, fictionalized. Again, we were saying every week, this is not a documentary, but I thought that was really telling, especially, again, knowing where Jeannie is. But, Dr. Buss not seeing the potential in Jeannie was very interesting. And that's encapsulated in that scene just perfectly. The scene where Bird is in Magic's head, I thought was incredible. incredible. And
Oh, that was a great
cannot-
scene.
right? I can't help but think that in some way, shape, or form that happened, right? Because these
Yeah.
two guys did not like each other up until the time that they met to film that commercial. Story goes, and then they became friends. But up until then, they weren't friendly. And I can't help but think, when Bird won that Rookie of the Year, I gotta think something like that happened, and the way they portrayed it, it was so cool
Yeah,
to me. I thought it was just an overall great scene. Let's see, what else do I got? I wrote it down. Akeem, you stole my thunder here. You guys won everything that doesn't count. Congratulations. I thought that was just a great line, and that was really the start. Well, I shouldn't say the start. I was going to say the start of the Lakers-Celtics rivalry, but Jerry West, had a rivalry there. Lakers have a long-standing rivalry with the Celtics, but man, it was really, the punches back and forth between the two franchises was amazing, and that dig by Dr. Bus there was really fun. It was great seeing Caldwell Jones, Chocolate Thunder, Daryl Dawkins, another guy who, was pretty spectacular in his own right in terms of what he can do that wasn't really displayed on the show. But it's called Winning Time, the Rise of the Lakers Dynasty. It's got nothing to do with the Sixers, but it would have been neat to see Chocolate Thunder a little bit more. A couple other just throwaway call outs. It was neat to see TV rabbit ears. Akeem, let me paint the picture for you. Back in the day, you didn't have cable, so you had to have an antenna on your TV. And so they had these two little rabbit ears, and you literally had to move them to get it just right. And until you did, and sometimes when you let go of the antenna, you lost your picture. So you had to grab the antennas and try to watch the TV. And it was neat to see that depicted again. Evan knows what I'm talking about.
Yep. I remember that.
Watching Kareem get excited when Magic makes a skyhook, I thought was kind of a cool scene. I taught him that. And then it was neat to see the Chickisms, right? I've said before, huge fan of Chick Hearn's. I haven't shared this story yet. I'll share it now. Back in the day, right, Chick Hearn did radio and TV for the Lakers. It was a simulcast. So he would be on radio at the same time he was on TV, same exact thing. They don't do that anymore. But every now and again, the Lakers, being the Lakers, were on national TV, which meant Chick was only doing radio, not doing TV. We hated whoever was doing Lakers broadcasts that wasn't Chick. So what we would do is we would record the Lakers game on VHS and record Chick's audio on cassette, right? And then we would line up. Yeah, we would start the audio at the same time as the video to sync it up because that's what we had to do in order to enjoy Chick Hearn when the Lakers were on national TV. And that's the extent that we, of the work that we went through, because I was such a fan of Chick Hearn. And he was special. He was spectacular. But hearing him say Magic put him in the popcorn machine, and then, of course, the famous, the Jello's jiggling was for me, was really, really cool. Last thing I'll say, and then we'll move on to our winners. So get ready if you don't have one thought up yet. They had, for just a snippet, they showed in 1980 that the parade outside the Forum. I was there. And cool. I will tell you, I was a kid. I went on my own. I was literally in the front row because I went by myself. And so I just kind of snuck up, and I saw Chick Hearn. He was the MC. And I saw all, the Lakers and Evan, just like you. I mean, that was when, fandom hit, that wasn't the Lakers championship. That was my championship. I was at the parade. I saw the players. There were not a lot of people when you think about it. I would say a couple thousand, honestly. I remember looking around thinking there wasn't a lot of people. It wasn't a parade down Figueroa. It was, or maybe they had it, but it was, it ended at the Forum. And that's when all the players spoke to the fans. And there was maybe 1,500, 2,000, 2,500 people there. It'd be interesting to see how many. That's how I remember it. Not an overwhelming amount of people. But I was front row because I was just a kid and everybody just kind of let me get in front of them. But I was there, which is kind of cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I don't remember much about it, but I was there. All right. That's my thoughts. Overall, loved the episode. very, very nostalgic, very fun to see it recreated the way it was. We do this every episode. We've done it every episode. We're going to do it now. Who was your winner and what was your favorite scene? Evan, you go first.
My winner for this one was Magic, because this was all about him. And yeah, I mean, the actor delivered once again. And yeah, so he's my winner. And then my favorite scene was Kareem and Magic talking in the car at the airport.
Yeah.
And Kareem, talking about when you hugged me the first time and you said, if you do this 81 more times, I'm going to do it to you again. And he tells him, you got one more.
Yeah, you owe me one more.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great picks. Akeem, who's your winner? What's your scene?
I would say Kareem was the winner of the episode. Because in the beginning of the season, he really doesn't have that many lines because they're trying to portray Kareem as like a guy who likes his solitude. He's a little more quiet, and then throughout the season, he starts to get more and more lines. And I felt like this episode, he had a ton of lines, a ton of great scenes, and the actor did a really great job kind of portraying Kareem and just the emotions he was having during that run there in games 5 and 6. And my favorite scene was probably the scene at the end of the movie when he goes back to visit what's his name that Wood Harris plays. I can't think of his name right now.
Spencer Haywood.
When he goes back to visit Spencer Haywood to check on him and just kind of speak with him about his issues and how he can turn things around. I just like that moment. I thought it was a good scene there.
Yeah, the way that scene ended, he was hugging him and he said, "You're a champion." That was deep. That was powerful.
And Wood Harris was really strong in that scene too.
100%. He was so good. Yeah, I got Kareem as my winner too, because not so much on the strength of this episode, but the strength of the series. And Akeem, you're stealing my thunder again here. The progression, that we saw, and I thought the actor did a great job. Who Kareem was at the start of episode 1 to who he was today at the end, I thought was great. And again, I love the actor's mannerisms, the way he speaks. I don't have any trouble. I see Kareem. Which is pretty spectacular, I think, because Kareem is a pretty spectacular person. But that actor really nailed it, and I thought he did a really good job. And the scene, my favorite scene was, I've already mentioned it, but for the same reason, right? When we first met Kareem, he was thinking of quitting the game. He was cussing out a little kid at the set of Airplane, and then at the end, and I really do think that this happened. I think that this was a progression for Kareem. The end of that season, he was jumping up and down with a bum ankle, when he saw his protege, do something that he taught him. I thought that was really cool. That scene with him jumping up and down. I taught him that. That's my sky hook. I thought it was really, really cool. So that's my winner. That's my scene. We do have a comment. I'm not going to say because I don't know if this is necessarily your winner, Real Talk, but we're going to throw it out there. He really liked the Larry Bird character. Hope to see more of him going at Magic. The Larry Bird character was amazing. As long as you didn't put a basketball in the actor's hands. Evan called it out. He doesn't quite look like a baller either.
More good casting, though.
He looks so much like him. Yeah, no doubt about it. And I think we'll talk a little bit more about, the latter part of your comment here. Hope to see more of him going at Magic when we talk about what we see coming up in the next season. Because we may or may not see more of Magic. We'd love to get your thoughts. So with that as a perfect intro, Evan, season 2, we know they've renewed. Season 2 is coming. There's more to tell about the 80s Lakers. But there's also more to tell about the Lakers, right? The 2000 Lakers were pretty spectacular. So what do you see coming? What do you hope to see? Maybe is a better way of wording it. What do you hope to see in season 2?
Well, I think, since the following year, they don't they don't win. In fact, I don't believe they get back until 82, I believe, or actually win another one until 82. They do get back to 2 more finals after that. But so I think they're probably going to condense like a couple seasons into, rather than having just one season like this. So they'll condense a couple, and then because I think the goal of this, because the book started the same place that this series started. It starts with Magic getting his HIV diagnosis. So, those are the bookends that the book uses. So I'm assuming that's what they're also going to use for the bookends on this.
Yeah.
If they're going to talk about Showtime. So my guess is this should be like 81 till about 83, and then probably the next season will be 84. Or actually 84, 85 when they win it. So that's what I see coming.
Yep. Hakeem, what do you think? What do you hope to see?
So, yeah, I agree with Evan that they'll probably combine a few seasons together. And I felt like this episode, they were kind of sowing the seeds for some conflict between Pat Riley and Paul Westhead, because I felt like Pat Riley was really stepping into being a leader in this episode.
Yeah.
Like he was kind of firing up the guys in the locker room. He was kind of always getting the last word in too. After Westhead would give his little speeches, his little Shakespeare stuff. And then also, he drops the votes for 63-3 line. Like, I just felt like they're kind of setting it up for Riley becoming the main leader. So I imagine they'll kind of get to that conflict eventually in the second season, which is like a major turning point in that Lakers dynasty.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
And that happened fairly early in the season, if I remember correctly. Like, because Westhead really, when he takes over in that second season, he starts to change things right away, and there's conflict, and it even gets to a point where Magic asks to be traded because he's not liking the changes that are going on. And that's, so like between that and, Riley, being the better motivator, that's kind of what, gets Westhead pushed out.
Yeah. Yeah. The one thing I remember about that time was not so much Magic, because Magic got a lot of the blame, but I know Norm Nixon was pretty. And I don't want to say verbal because that wasn't his mentality, but I remember he was interviewed, and he strikes me as the kind of guy who just kind of said what was on his mind. And he said, yeah, man, I feel like I'm a power forward, because he had him. And I think we talked about this in earlier episodes. Westhead trying to change things up, had the guards doing a lot of download, screening big guys, and had him moving around a lot more and doing things that traditional point guards didn't do. And Norm was the one guy, and maybe it was because I was a fan personally of Norm Nixon. Everybody loved Magic, and I loved Magic too, but I took to Norm. But I remember him saying, yeah, it doesn't make any sense. I don't like it. And it wasn't long after that, I hope this isn't a spoiler alert for people, that he was shipped out. They traded Norm in what was actually a really good trade for the Lakers. That wasn't necessarily, that brought him Byron Scott.
But banished poor Norm to the Clippers.
Poor Norm to the Clippers. Yeah, but both Norm and Jamal ended their careers with the Clippers. Yeah, back in the day when they used to, make trades. Now I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. But this is why I think the interest. To me, it's an interesting question. I think what you guys are saying is right on. There is so much more to explore. Just again, the burgeoning of that rivalry with the Celtics. Pat Riley coming up. How Dr. Buss just kind of settles in to his role. There's this whole story there, no doubt. 81 through 83 would be phenomenal. Starting with a loss, and if I remember right, in the finals, or like you said, not making it and then making it would be a great arc. But the reason I bring it up is I was reading an article, and HBO, we know, renewed for a second season, renewed Winning Time, but they had also optioned Perlman's follow-up book, 2020's Three-Ring Circus, Kobe, Shaq, Phil, and the Crazy Years of the Lakers Dynasty. So apparently he wrote a follow-up. I don't know if you read that one as well, Evan. But so people are thinking maybe season 2 it's going to leave Showtime behind and jump right into Shaq and Kobe. which I think would be a mistake because there's so much more to tell about this amazing Lakers team in the 80s. Their run was incredible. I mean, they made the finals in 91 too. I mean, there's a lot to tell. I mean, you got a decade worth of information about Magic's Lakers that I hope they tell that story. But apparently because HBO got the rights to that book, people think, oh, maybe season 2 is going to be about that.
That would be pretty cool. I mean, I would prefer they continue on with the Magic Dynasty, but
sure,
there's a lot of character in that early 2000s Lakers teams because you have Kobe and Shaq's inner team rivalry.
Yeah.
You got Phil Jackson coaching the team. So that's a lot of character right there.
Yeah, that needs to be a series of its own. And like, if you haven't read that book, read it. I mean, it's a, you know, if you're a Kobe fan, it is a painful read because there's a lot of stuff about Kobe in that book that's really unflattering and really tough. But it's an incredible book.
Yeah.
So, I hope that they do a whole series with that one. That would be awesome. I would, because I'll be addicted to that one just as much as I am to this one.
Absolutely. I think at some point it's coming, but I think it'd be a wasted opportunity if they ended the 80s here. You know, especially well, that being said, the whole story of how they built that 2000 team where they gutted the team just to bring in Shaq. I remember they traded Vlade and literally everybody else. They had like 5 people on the squad, but they had Shaq, they had Kobe, and then they're just bringing in other pieces. Yep. It would be a phenomenal story to tell. And Jerry West obviously had a big hand in that. I do wonder, after all of the complaints from Mr. West, whether or not he will be depicted more kindly in season 2. Yeah.
I don't know how you could transition to a tamer version of him at this point.
Right.
The damage is done. Just you just got to keep going with it.
I think you might be right. And for whatever reason, maybe it's because I know, that Jerry West is upset. This episode's Jerry West really grated on me. I just didn't like him. I'm going to take a walk. What you doing jumping center? I mean, he was worrying about things that who cares who jumps center? Right? It doesn't really matter. It grated on me a little bit, this Jerry West. But all right. Hey, listen, that'll do it. 10 episodes down. It went really, really quick. What a great time. Thank you all so much for joining, for watching, for listening, for participating, for leaving your comments. It means the world to us. It was so much fun. Like I said, this is something Akeem, Derek, who's not with us, unfortunately, tonight, and Evan, we would have done anyway. We talk basketball every day. That's who we are. That's what we do at thepeachbasket.net. So it was neat to be able to do it with you. And we're grateful and can't wait for season 2. So thank you. That'll do it for us tonight. As always, thanks again for watching. Thanks for listening. We'll be back again whenever season 2 drops. We'll talk to you then. Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.